So the concrete preparation has made the situation absolutely clear, and then we move into a higher order thinking idea, which is the students will be asked, and I'm asking you as teachers, to make a prediction of what you think will happen when we move the right finger towards the left finger. Also, to put forward an explanation of why you think that prediction will actually happen. Also, I would like you to think very hard about imagine what your students might predict and what thinking they might use to support their predictions. It's very important that you demonstrate this and don't actually show the observations. You're just concretely preparing their minds for what is at the starting state, and they make a prediction and an explanation, so we can then move on to observation, which usually creates a large deal of what we call cognitive conflict. That's where the student prediction, their expectation of what will happen, often leads to surprising observations. Again, we have to really concretely prepare the students later to show exactly what we mean by observations and explanations. Cognitive conflict is very useful. There's great psychological literature that shows the idea of making predictions and then actually monitoring to see if there's error in those predictions is a powerful ingredient in getting the thinking of students visible to them and correctable and shareable for the next phase, which will be social construction. Now, social construction is where students share ideas, they've made observations, they've shared their observations, and this is the way I would organize it for this, that they actually face each other, they're sharing a ruler in pairs, and they've shared their predictions and explanations, then they share their observations. I'm going to do that with you now. You already have made your predictions, and so we're, by video, going to socially construct some thinking. I'm going to very slowly move my right finger towards my left finger, and let's observe exactly what happens. It seems the right finger, I'm moving in space, but it's not actually relatively moving compared to the ruler. In whole class discussion, I would point that out and get to see if students are actually making those observations, the idea of relative motion. Whereas the left finger seems to be sliding along the ruler until we reach a certain point. And then the right moves along. Now, the idea of having a very simple procedure is that it can be repeated, it can be shown, it can be discussed, it can be repeated many times, which of course is good scientific practice anyway, but it allows opportunities for students to make their thinking visible and also make any re-explanations of their thinking visible to each other and shareable. That social construction will go on in pairs. Then I will ask pairs to join up with another pair and go through a similar procedure before we report back from groups of 4 to the whole class. And that's where you as the teacher can mediate this social construction to point out, if they have not pointed out, things like the idea of the relative motion and then the transitional change that comes when the left finger has reached a certain point. That's an example of social construction. That's where minds sharing pieces of information, working together, having some dialogue. This needs careful organisation, and I would make the point the group work needs to be highly focused, often quite short, maybe 2 minutes or so, and then it's a good opportunity for you as a teacher to elicit responses from the groups and use them to try to make sure that, again, everyone is sharing similar information, hearing the different ideas, so we can help construct a deeper explanation of what's happening.